There are two different types of tomatoes you've probably heard a lot about, determinates and indeterminates. Does it really matter? Well, it may matter somewhat, but I'm gonna go over the differences today in the two different types here. Maybe that'll help you make a better informed decision on which one you need to grow, and we can draw out the differences in the two different types. Now I've got 2.5 rows of tomatoes here. 1.5 rows are indeterminates, and I got one whole row of Halcinator, which is a determinate type. So let's go through here and show you the varieties that we're growing. Well, the first three I got right here is Sun Sugar, which if you're not familiar with Sun Sugar, it's a yellow cherry tomato, which is one of my all-time favorites. Next, we got 3 plants of tie-dye. Now, tie-dye is one of those unusual type ones right here. It's not actually an heirloom, but it is an heirloom looking tomato. Just love the flavor of it. Not the easiest to grow, but a great flavorful tomato. Then we have Cherokee Carbon. Now, these right here have yet to put on a lot of fruit set. They got a little bit on them. I'm really excited about this right here. This is a cross between Carbon tomato and Cherokee. Has disease resistance, but yet it's got that heirloom flavor and look to it. And then next we have Ruby Dawn. Now, Ruby Dawn is a slicing tomato, and it is more of a hybrid. And it's got good disease resistance. It's gonna make good uniform tomatoes. It's a very vigorous plant. I'm excited about that one right there. Come out of the same breeding program that the Halcinator did. And on the end right here, we have Lemon Boy. Lemon Boy, it was on our taste test, our blindfold taste test several times. A yellow tomato, but absolutely delicious. Has good disease resistance, but all the ones I just showed you there are indeterminate types. If you can see the growth habit difference in the two, indeterminate, indeterminate, determinate. These right here are not as tall as most of these right here are. I did use 8-foot T-post on these. I used 6.5 on the Halcinator. I expect this Halcinator to top out at about the top of these posts here. That's about as tall as they will get. Now, mind you, these things are grown in ideal conditions. Yours may not get this big, but if you grow them well, you fertilize them, and you do everything right, you're going to get these really large, healthy plants. But we don't expect them to get much more than this. However, on our indeterminates, we do expect them to get taller. These with a little more vigor, you can tell have outgrown the ones on this side somewhat. And within different varieties, you're going to see the different amount of growth on indeterminates. But these things will shoot on up, and we will string them all the way to the top there. Fruit set will also be a little bit different. Now, a little bit of the misconception about the indeterminate type is they will make indefinitely as long as the plant's alive. That is true for some climates, but for here in the South, not necessarily so. In July, the sun is just going to tear these plants up. So we're not going to get much tomato production after July 4th. Our garden is normally over with by then, and the sun is just going to scorch these plants and they're going to go down to nothing. But we're going to have different fruit set along this vine. Of course, the bottom's going to set first, and it's going to set all the way to the top here until that sun takes it out. If you live in a more northern, cooler climate, this is going to be different for you. This indeterminate type could very well last you all the way to frost. Now, the determinate Halcinator here means it has a determinate amount of growth it's going to do. A lot of people will say it's just going to make one crop. Well, that's not necessarily true. We actually make 3 crops on our determinate type. We make a bottom crop, which sets first. We make a middle crop, and then we make our top crop. The top crop being the last. Normally lasts about a month to harvest it all the way through. We get a week, let's just say 10 days in between the different harvests at that. And there again, after 4th of July, same thing. Sun's just going to beat them down and take them out, and we're going to pull up our tomatoes and move on to something else. So for us in the South, the lifespan of the plant really doesn't change much. July heat is going to take both of them out. On my half a row of indeterminates, I have Mountain Vineyard. Look at here. Just loads up right there. Now, this is a hybrid variety here. Unfortunately, I think it's probably going to be discontinued at some point here. I love this one right here. It's got what we call the crimson gene in it, and it loads up with tomatoes. And next to that, we have a new variety that we're trialing that's called Beta Bomb. You're probably going to see this in the catalogs next year. I'm not sure if it's out yet. The breeder sent it to us to try. It's really high in beta carotene, and that's the reason they call it the Beta Bomb. So it's going to be interesting to see how it grows out there. I got high hopes for it, but you know what? We grow tomatoes for how they taste and not for the amount of beta carotene in there. So I'm a little bit, confused about that. But if it tastes as good as I think it will, the plants are showing really good vigor. It may end up being a winner. The way I grow them does change just a little bit. A lot of people will prune their indeterminates really hard. I prune mine up to about knee high, and then I don't prune them after that because I need as much foliage as I can get. I'm willing to give a little bit on the amount of harvest I get from the plant to have foliage to protect them because the sun is so hard on them down here in the deep south. So I do some pruning, but I give up on them after about knee high and just let them go. And I tried to tend to them and keep them, strung up after that to keep them supported. On my halcinators, I do not prune my halcinators. Now some people do, and that's okay. If you want to prune your halcinators up a little bit off the ground, it's going to cause you to get a little bit bigger tomato. But normally speaking, this variety right here and red snapper are going to make huge tomatoes anyway. And I get plenty of size without having to prune or to sucker my Determinate type tomatoes. I love the foliage. I love the protection that we get here. And you see all this foliage right here? This is indicative of the halcinator and the red snapper type tomatoes. Out of the breeding program they come out of, they're bred with a lot of foliage because they were bred primarily for the south. And we need that to protect those fruits, those tomatoes from sun scald. So that's one reason this right here is such a great variety for the south. And I don't have to prune it. It's an easy, easy one to grow. Now, as far as varieties, you will find most of your cherry and your plum tomatoes to be indeterminates. Although there is some exceptions to that. We've got one called Red Coral that is a determinate type. There are a few out there that are determinates and are easy to grow. And I'm not even going to get into the dwarf tomatoes because that's a totally different thing. But for the most part, your indeterminates are those plum and cherry tomatoes. The reason for that is most of your big greenhouse growers or indoor growers prefer these indeterminate type because they can keep them alive. They can string them up all the way to the top of the greenhouse, and they have that prolonged harvest season. So this is ideal for those people that's growing in greenhouses, wants that harvest season all summer long to frost. And most of our heirlooms are the indeterminate type too. On the determinates, most of these are your newer varieties. We don't see a lot of heirlooms that are determinate. Most all of them are hybrid varieties, improved varieties, and the reason for that, in open field production, this determinate type is so much easier to manage. So there are some differences. There are some way we have to grow them different. You need a bigger, stiffer, higher trellising system with the indeterminates than you do with the determinates. Determinates for the average home gardener is going to be easier to grow. You do have more options as far as varieties when you start looking at indeterminates. So those are some things there you can look at to help you make a choice of which one you would love to grow. Personally, I do both, and the reason I do both is I have the opportunity to get some of the varieties I want, this indeterminates, but yet my go-to variety that I depend on every year are the determinates that I know I'm gonna be able to make a good crop on. These others over here, they can be a little leafy sometimes. I've not lost the first tomato plant so far, and this is getting toward the end of May, which is unusual for me because we don't have much disease resistance in these indeterminates, unlike these determinate types. Been lucky this year. I rotated around, got to a new spot that never had tomatoes planted up before, and they're doing really good. However, a lot of times I will lose some of mine to disease, and I just take that. That's part of the game. But I know these right here are going to do for me every year. So kind of use that into consideration growing your indeterminates, determinates. It's not a huge factor, and particularly here in the south. They're not going to last any longer than the other one because the sun's going to burn them up anyway. But there may be some reasons you want to grow an indeterminate over a determinate type.